You know, you can choose to believe that a president who graduated from Harvard and Columbia and was on the Harvard Law Review is really just incompetent and doesn't know what he's doing. Or you can choose to believe that he knows exactly what he's doing on immigration and energy and a whole lot of other issues. And he's doing exactly what he's doing on purpose. And I happen to believe they know exactly what they're doing, and this is one indication. I remember I was 11 years old when I watched Neil Armstrong walk on the moon. I thought we'd be going on vacations up there by now. I'm disappointed. But if we can put a man on the moon when I'm 11, surely by 42 years later, we can figure out how to secure a border. Build a fence, physical fence. The one in Southern California works till it runs out in the desert. Then have an electronic array if necessary. How about redeploying some of our military from Germany, for example, to Arizona? As a proud American, it infuriates me that we have residents and citizens of this country who have to fear for their lives and property on the soil of the United States. That I don't know if you saw the article about Alabama last month, finally enforcing that new immigration law, and all of a sudden people disappeared from the workplace and from schools. Where'd they go? Probably only went to Louisiana and Mississippi. But if all 50 states were to actually enforce, actually if the federal government would do its job and enforce, they'd go somewhere other than the 50 states of the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jeff Marino.
So we got 4 great answers. Let me take a little different direction because I kind of answered this question. And that is, this administration continues to step on states' rights. They already enacted a program and a law saying that illegal aliens had to leave the country. And the fact remains that we need to enforce that law. And all those states are just enforcing the law. And I'm tired of seeing this administration step on state rights. Now let me also pose another thought that I have. We know that the Mexican government we do business with. We also know that a lot of Latin countries we give foreign aid to. As the illegals come into this country, I pose this, that we charge back the country for them being here. Now I'll be compassionate. First time you come here, shame on us for not catching you. But the second time you're here, we charge the country of origin back for them being here. I guarantee you they'll close down the borders and help us close down the borders.
Thank you, sir. Mark Jones.
By the way, the reason we're not taking vacations on the moon, it was a government program, and that's why it hasn't worked. I'd like us to think very deeply about this question of immigration. I think we're all in agreement that illegal is illegal. But we need to spend more time talking about what it means to become a legal immigrant. This country was built on the souls and the hearts and the minds of people, in many cases, who never started here. We sit in this room because of the work of immigrants, legal immigrants, but we need to be talking about what that is. That same article, by the way, about Alabama, it began, and this is why our founders were right about the experiment in letting states experience these things. Alabama is finding that this is a little bit more difficult than they thought. And we need to be talking about, remember our own declaration, all men and women are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. We need to be the country that lifts up human beings. If we're going to be a culture of life, we have to recognize that in every way. And our country has been enriched by an appreciation of the value of every human being. So let's talk about how we create legal immigrants and really continue to make America the last best hope of people on the face of the planet.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
20 seconds, go for it.
What it means is you need to learn to speak English to become an American. You need to understand the Constitution. You need to be willing to say, I will get a job, and I will work an honest day's pay for an honest day's labor.
Before or after they...
To come into the country, you should sign a covenant with the people. We live under a declaration and a constitution that recognizes that about human beings. So sign a covenant. If you want to come into our country, abide by our promises and abide by the reality of the American idea.
Thank you, sir. That concludes round number 3. We have up next Peter Konechki. You are the new contestant on the random round. What kind of legislation would be needed to stop congressional insider trading?
Well, my understanding is insider trading is already illegal, so I think we just have to go through and enforce our existing laws. The biggest thing is also, it's ballots. Elections have consequences, and the government's in so much stuff that it does not belong in. It shouldn't be involved in healthcare. It shouldn't be involved in banking, insurance, anything else, housing and urban development, transportation. It's up to us, the people, to go through and enforce, the constitutional limitations. There's something called Article 1, Section 8 in the Constitution. It lists the duties of Congress. If you go through and read that, you'll see nothing about 90% of what Congress is dealing with right now, nothing whatsoever. And the only reason we have so much corruption in Congress is because Congress has usurped this authority and it's inserted itself into every aspect of American society where it doesn't belong. So the only way we're ever going to clean up the corruption in Congress is to limit it to its constitutional duties.
Thank you, sir.
One other little thing, as far as what Clark was saying, we already have a covenant. Like I said, my wife came in legally, and I know I have 30 more seconds, but she came in legally. And when you come in legally, you have to have a sponsor, you have to have support, you have to say that you're going to learn English, and you have to do all the things that the other candidates were saying. The problem is illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants are extremely destructive. We had a sister that wanted to come in from Russia, and we went to the embassy. They said she could not come in because there were so many illegals in here already that they didn't want any more illegals in here. So we have to stop the illegal immigrants so we can allow people that are going to benefit society to come back in.
Thank you. Scotty Bowman. By the way, how many Red Wing jokes do you get? Is that pretty old? Does that get old really quick?
I lost count.
Fair enough. What departments need to be reduced and which departments need to be eliminated, if any, to help get our spending under control?
My short answer is most of them. And frankly, I can't remember as many as when I have a list in front of me, I would probably choose to get rid of. I mean, a couple of the obvious ones that come to mind are ones you've already heard mentioned, like Department of Education. When I was growing up, almost all of the management of the public school system was local, and people were better educated. Beyond that, I don't even think it should be public, but that's not a federal matter. Just get the feds out of it. Department of Energy, we don't need to have the government deciding what energy investments are best. People can do that on their own. We have Department of Commerce. Commerce works fine even without the government's help. I don't have, like I said, if I had a list in front of me and I could actually distinguish this department, that department, we can get rid of a lot of them. And then sure, pretty much every other department could be reduced. And so sure, we can reduce the Department of the Interior. We don't need to have so many federal lands that are controlled by the federal government. It's not in their enumerated duties. We can delegate that to the states. Some of these lands could be sold and actually be better managed when they're privately owned and people actually have a stake in damage. If you're a lumber company, you have a stake in making sure new trees can grow so you can harvest more lumber.
Thank you, sir. The next question is going to go to Chuck Marino over here, and I first would like to ask, since we are running a little ahead of schedule, is it okay if we allow 2 minutes for the healthcare round? Is that okay? Fair enough. Healthcare. Without knowing if we have an ally in the White House for 2012, keep that in mind, what needs to be done to overturn Obamacare and what needs to be put in its place?
First of all, you can't retool Obamacare. I don't care if you call it Obamacare, medical care, or I don't care. This program is sick. Let's start off with Medicaid. Right now, Obama's taken $530 billion. It's something you've paid into every week that you've earned a paycheck. The government said if you pay it in, when you retire, you're going to get it back. And what did they do? They're stealing it from you. And stealing's a harsh word. But when I tell my kids, if I put money in a jar, don't take it, and they go take it, that's stealing. And that's what Obama did, and I passed out a lot of those forms to you people. And what does that mean for our seniors? It starts off with less medical care for them. It starts off with longer lines for doctors. It just starts off with the fact that they're not going to get the care that they want, less treatments. So our seniors are already in the toilet when it comes to Obamacare. Now, we're capitalists. We believe in a free society, and we believe in capitalistic ideas. We should turn the medical, first of all, we should go after our medical people and make sure that they post signs. You know, when I break an arm, when I have a flat tire, I know how much the AAA is going to fix it for. When I go to the doctor's and I break an arm, I don't know what they're going to charge me for. It takes 2 months for me to get a bill, and then it always blows me away how much it is. If you got a CAT scan and you went to a hospital, it's $12,000. Today, there's new hospitals or new clinics set up, and you got a CAT scan from one of those being competitive, it's $1,200. So we need to get competitive with our medical care, number one. Number two, we need to turn it over to the private sector. And number three, we need to have it between states. We should be able to go over state borders to get it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Vice Chairman.
Well, I think we will have an ally in the White House in 2012. And I think the number one thing is to repeal the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act that is neither protecting patients nor affordable. That needs to be repealed. But I think the fundamental question is we really do need to look at how we have become too dependent on government for something as important as health care. I used to think that if it's really important, you don't depend on government for it. We have cut the relationship between a doctor and a patient. We've left it up to insurance companies and big governments to figure out what is right for us. That should be a decision between us and our physician. Markets have a very interesting way of allowing us to receive what is exactly necessary for us. Take the most ordinary things. Every person in this room is dressed differently. Every person in this room, unless you're married, lives in a different house. Every person in this room got here by a different means of transportation. Everybody had a different meal today for dinner or lunch or breakfast. All of those are important to our well-being, and yet we trust people and freedom to allow those things to be delivered for us at a quality and at the best possible price. If we did that with our medical care, we would see innovation go up, you'd see costs come down, people should be able to buy insurance policies across state lines that meet their needs, not the needs of legislators who tell us what we have to have. The more opportunity for freedom, and here's another thing, the FDA stands in the way of innovative solutions coming to us through new medicines. Government is killing our people by not allowing safe drugs and other tools to be used, whether you have cancer, Alzheimer's, or all sorts of things. Again, government stands in the way of the people. Get it out of the way.
Thank you, sir. Scotty Bowman.